Hello, everyone. My name's David Cox. This is Wednesday, January 27th, in the wonderful year of 2021. And we're re-upping the program called Tech Spotlight. This is a program to try to interact with different people from tech and to chat with them about how they work for the life of the students that are here, or how they are a part of perhaps a department, academic department that works on different types of projects. And so the kickoff person for this year, Tristine Hayward, is with us. And we're really glad that she's here. And she's the Assistant Director for Student Life. And I'm really thrilled that she's with us. She's a friend of mine. She's a friend of most students. She's a person that, well, does a lot with career fair. I know that. But she also does a lot with other things. So, Tristine, I will hand it to you and let you start.
All right, thank you. And thank you for having me also.
You bet.
It's a really good opportunity to be here and do one of these.
Mhm.
So I do student affairs. I handle all things related to career services. And therefore, career fair is definitely one of the biggest things I'm involved in each semester. Before I had this job, I used to work in admissions. So I was a recruiter. I've been to school here. I went to school here for 2 years, a long time ago.
Galaxy far away, yep.
Yep. And I worked at Macy Center for a long time when I was here. I did my internship for my bachelor's degree at Macy Center. So I've definitely been around this campus as a student and working with students for a long time.
We're not getting no age issues here. No, not getting. So, but you've been doing things here for a while.
I have.
But like you say, career services. What does that all entail?
Yeah.
What are some of the things you do?
So that involves everything throughout the time that the students are at school here, and then all the way till when they're alumni, even possibly 20 years after they graduate, if they're looking for a job change, we can help. Mm-hmm. So I spend a lot of my time reviewing resumes and cover letters, mm-hmm. Statements of purpose for graduate school, different essays for scholarships for campus and outside of campus.
So you're really hands-on with that. You do probably resume workshops and
absolutely
perhaps workshops for how to write a cover letter. I don't know, something like that.
We add some of that into our resume workshops most of the time, but we haven't done a full-on cover letter workshop in quite a long time.
I'm afraid that I have to admit that I haven't been to your etiquette dinners. Of course, we haven't been able to have them for the last little bit of time, but etiquette dinners it was one of the things I know you were involved with, and the whole idea of how to eat if you were at an interview is an interesting concept. So yeah. Tell me about that. Is there any stories on that one?
Etiquette dinner, it's been around longer than I've been involved with it. Although a long time ago, I used to be involved as a table host. So I've been involved as a guest as well as a person working on it. And they're fantastic, 4-course dinners, people dress up really nicely for it. We work. My favorite thing is to find the hardest things to eat and put that on the menu. So we can all struggle together. And it's great because you have Michael and I giving the presentation on how to eat. We have different opinions on things. And so I think that the students get to see that there's not one right way to do things. You can see.
And so they don't feel like they're going to have a loss if all of a sudden something happens. Okay. No. Well, that's important. So it gives them some confidence.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And it's a good time because, you see like tomatoes flying off the table and people trying to cut into like a little baguette of bread and like smashing it because it's kind of difficult. So we have a really good time.
Yeah, I probably need to graduate from Caveman 101 to your etiquette dinner. Okay, so I'll bring that up to you someday. I'm going to have to go to cherry tomatoes, apple salad. Oh gosh, yeah, cherry tomatoes. Oh my God. It kind of reminds me of Lord of the Rings and the dude that's the steward eating them. Never mind. All right. So we've got the idea that I think that you can blow something so easily, you know, and I'm not sure that's true. I think we get on ourselves maybe more as interviewees then maybe we should. I think we should be pretty competent with things and talking and everything. But how do you bring off confidence? How do you instill that with your folks that you work with?
I think one of the best ways to feel most confident is when someone is really prepared. So when they have that strong resume that they, have really comfortable with, and when they've practiced, answering questions for an
Yeah,
interview,
yeah.
they know the company that they're going to be applying with. They've talked to different people that have that job, and they understand what's going to be required of them. Just preparation, I think, is the most important thing in order to help feel confident.
Cool. So that they can fall into that. They maybe even have bits and pieces of answers in their brain that they can click on, things
Yeah.
like that. Okay. Well, and for the workshop for career fair, I know you had one of those today. Do
Mhm.
you have those often before a career fair, or is this
Yeah, every single week before we have a career fair, we put on multiple workshops. And then we also do workshops for different things throughout the semester as well when we feel a need for it.
super?
From interviewing to applying to government jobs with USA Jobs, which is a horrible
Oh,
website.
USA Jobs. Talk about that because I've had applications in there where they've told me it's not correct. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there going, how in the world can this not be correct? Okay. And I've been filling out junk for years, right? And when I went into the USA Jobs site, it was like, welcome to the maze, or, you had to be perfect or something. Talk about the experience of people with USA Jobs.
Yeah, it's a fairly horrible website, and it requires you to be very, very, very specific, which is why I've had 17 hours of training on how to use that website and
Holy
find
moly.
jobs and apply for jobs. So we've had a pretty good track record of people getting those jobs that they apply for, which is
Mhm.
really exciting. So I have a lot of really good tips and tricks. And so I recommend anyone that wants to apply for a job on USA Jobs, come see me. I can work one-on-one with you and help out. Because it
Victoria
is not
Castillo
easy.
just said, I had a friend that had applied for about 50 different jobs. Victoria, tell us that story a little bit, just that whole concept, because this is a hard job site.
I've never used it, but I know that he used it, and he graduated this past May.
Mhm.
And I think he was just kind of panicking trying to find a job, so he just applied to whatever he could. I think he had more options because he graduated with his engineering degree. He was a materials engineer, but his main goal was to do the FBI. So he was just applying to like anything that could get him one step closer to being in the FBI, and he counted up everything, and it was a little bit over 50 applications that he had submitted.
That's a lot of applications.
Um, it's a
And
lot.
talk about the issue then about perseverance. I mean,
Yeah.
do you try to teach perseverance at the career fair or
It's
with
something
career
that we
services?
it's something that we touch on. Not as much perseverance, but the fact is that at times you will get a no and you won't hear back, and how to move past that and continue, because there's a
Mhm.
lot of other things out there.
Okay. So what happens when you get depressed? Do people get depressed in job searches?
Yeah, we've had people come into our office crying because things haven't gone the way that they wanted, or they haven't heard back from that job that they're super, super excited for. So yeah, we work with students on those types of things, and holding their hand a little bit and finding new strategies, new
Sure.
ways to do it. Trying to
Michael,
find actual contacts of people they can talk to help out.
yeah, Michael was saying they got an FBI liaison or something.
We sure do.
So maybe Victoria, your friend, if you're not in the FBI already, maybe needs to go back to that. I don't know, but it's depression, the wear and tear of a job search, that whole sense that you're not perfect, but you got to present yourself well.
Yes.
All of that stuff is pretty stressful. So, do you guys work with like counseling services sometime to help people, or do you try to give them stress exercises? What do you kind of do with that?
Yeah, we work with a lot of offices on campus, including the counseling center, and we work together on different workshops, and not just career workshops either. We work with test anxiety, for example.
Test
So we do a lot
anxiety
of
is
different
huge.
things.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't know, test anxiety probably has a little bit to go into interview anxiety, I suppose. So
Yeah.
if you're thinking it's like a test, which in some ways it is, some ways it's personality, some ways just fit or whatever. Some ways it's making sure you can do all the checks on the side for what they're looking for. Yeah, I mean, Michael just brought up some things in chat about salary negotiations, understanding how a contract might be written.
Benefits.
It's tough stuff. Okay, and knowing what to bring up in an interview, a first interview, and what not to bring up in a first interview. Do you ever counsel anybody about something that they should not bring up in a first interview?
Yeah, when we talk about not bringing up salary in the first interview, for example.
Tends to really kill people.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. If you look like the kind of person that only thinks about money, not always a good fit in the company's opinion.
Yes, I'm sure. So, I mean, somehow this has become your career now, a little bit. Your career is to run career services and career fairs, okay?
Yes.
Did you see yourself doing that, let's say, a number of years ago? I won't put a number in there, thank you. Okay.
A number of years ago, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I kind of just took whatever opportunities came my way without putting any effort into it. So I
Yeah.
think that I'm kind of good to help out people that don't really know what they want to do and try to find their path, because I have been there and I know what that's like. And
Well,
those are the people that kind of struggle the most sometimes.
yeah. I'm thinking women in the present workforce are still dealing with garbage that people like me don't always get. Okay. And it's not because I'm not trying to be interactive or caring or something like that. It's just the circumstance of gender in the midst of the workforce. And do you have workshops especially geared to women, perhaps, or like salary issues with women, or how to interview, or things like that? Victoria had that type of a question. Victoria, you want to fill that out a little more?
Yeah, I think David just said it best, that I know a lot of people now are more aware of that imbalance between salaries, or just how much a person is paid,
Yeah.
not only between women, but even like people of color, stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've seen like flyers around campus that you've done workshops and stuff like that. That's why I just asked so you can talk about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tristine. There you go.
Every semester, my office has teamed up with the AAUW, the American Association of University Women. And so we do put on a salary negotiation workshop. We do target it towards women, although anyone's invited. I do the one every fall, and then one of their representatives does the one every spring. And so that's actually tomorrow from 2 to 4.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I think only 3 people have signed up, and we can take 15 people. So we can certainly take some more if you're interested.
So if anybody's interested in that, like Victoria, if she has a chance, or others, but you do these on a regular basis, because as we're recording this, of course, I want to make sure that if people look at it, they get the idea It's coming.
And I actually work with more people one-on-one on that, because people aren't always super comfortable talking about money in a group of people. And so definitely available one-on-one to discuss tactics and how to talk about that and kind of break the ice on that, which can be the hardest thing. And also on interview questions, when people are asked, what salary are you looking to make, how to answer that question, which can be tricky sometimes.
Well, yeah, and that's a hard one because, you may not know the salary guidelines.
Yep.
That they're working with. You may not know in that area, let's say, what professional salaries might be. You may not know in that field if it's kind of that up and coming place where the salaries are moving, or is it pretty staid and there's not going to be much conversation?
Right.
Those are all issues I would think you'd probably deal with. So, yeah. So, but okay, tell us a typical day in the life of Tristine Hayward. Okay, and Michael, you got to stop laughing. I see your little box up there. Okay, what's your typical day? Okay?
That is probably the hardest question that you can ask me, because we are involved in so many things that there is no typical day. So for example, tomorrow, my day from 8 to 9, we're going to prepare coffee and donuts and then hand those out from 9 to 11 in front of Weir Hall, give out free coffee and donuts,
I'll
promote
be there.
career fair, chat with people, make sure their semester's going well. And then from 11 to 1, I go into Fidel and I will be reviewing resumes for those 2 hours. Just a real quick overview to make sure people are ready for a career fair or jobs they're applying for. And then I'll probably eat lunch from 1 to 2. And then at 2 to 4, I will be doing helping out with that salary negotiation workshop. And then I will probably answer emails from 4 to 5 or 7 or 8. So a lot will come in because it's a Thursday. That's
This
a busy
depends
day.
if somebody happens to send you 14 and you're trying to. Yeah. Okay. So that's a typical day, though. You're very busy.
That's a version of a day. Yeah.
You're very busy.
Always something different going on.
Ah. So, okay. So, anybody here on the Zoom can ask a question. I want to remind you of that. I don't want to be the simple question asker. Even Michael could ask a question, which might be scary, but
I got questions.
You're guilty in sending Tristine dozens of emails to review my stuff in a panic. Okay, well, good for you, Michael. Okay,
That's not me.
Michael is the director
That was Victoria.
of student affairs. So there you go. All right.
I'm happy to do it. I try not to take a long time to respond and help out with anyone's emails.
And have you noticed the calming effect of Tristine's office paint over against the exciting effect of Michael's office paint? Michael talks, so your face comes up. Come on. Come on.
Yeah, it's there. I love the orange. I like to be awake when I'm at work. I don't want to be tired, and these bright colors help keep me alive and focused. Thank God I don't have to stare at them because the walls I'm looking at are beige. But if I had to look at all those all day, I'd be crazy.
Okay.
So, question I had for Tristine is, when you're looking at a first-time student's resume, and they are embarrassed about this resume because Dr. Ford made them do it, Dr. O'Malley made them do it, Dr. Hargather made them do this resume, and they're just embarrassed at their resume. They think it's horrible. What do you tell them? How do you work with that?
First thing I do is ask questions. Because people have more experience than they think they do.
Excellent.
So I like to draw out all the things that they might have done in high school or in their freshman year, things that they've done over the summer, volunteer work. And that way we can find a lot more things to put on their resume to make it a really full, good looking resume.
So I know I've got some of my peer mentors here that are a part of this conversation. So if a peer mentor was trying to put something in a resume, how would you help them, for example? You've got an idea of what peer mentors kind of do. How would you do that, for example? If there's a peer mentor.
Being a peer mentor has so many of those transferable skills that people don't really think about. And so it's being a leadership, being how to being a teacher, having that background of a lot of different things to draw from, being able to work with a large variety of different types of people, of ages of people.
Diversity.
There's so many skills that we can draw on if a student is a peer mentor.
Okay.
So would they just write those skills like on their resume, or how does that work?
Ideally, the best way to put any of those kind of soft skills, they're called, is in the actual descriptions for the experiences, as opposed to just listing them in a skills section.
So a listing of 12 is not going to necessarily help, but if you're able to express certain soft skills, let's say, in each of the jobs you're talking about, it becomes more of a narrative experience. Is that what you're trying to get them into, a story, or what are you doing?
Absolutely, a story and then outcomes.
Mhm. So,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and especially when we're talking about USA Jobs. USA Jobs hates listing of skills, even if they're technical skills. They want everything in the descriptions, how
Right.
those skills were applied.
Well, now, some of the students that are going to be coming to you are looking how to perhaps apply for internships.
Yes.
Maybe we should shift to that, because that's a big thing, I think, for students here at Tech. We would not only have a system where we're trying to do research with learning, okay, and how those play together, but also internships where you get to immerse yourself for a summer, let's say, into the type of program that you're really wanting to go to, but you may not have had experiences with that. How would you help somebody trying to seek out an internship? Try that.
Yeah, so one of the first things I do is I have a student find, or I work with them to find an internship that they're interested in, so that we can read through that job description together and pull out all of those things that they have that they didn't really realize that they have from different experiences, and possibly volunteering, possibly things that they've learned in their class on group projects and things like that, and pull that together into their resume so that their resume is really fit for that particular job. And once they can do that for one job, they can do that for multiple jobs.
Sure.
So I recommend kind of tweaking the resume slightly for different things that people are applying for. So it's always hitting all of those things that are asked for in the requirements.
Cool. So this is, I mean, and I think you hinted at something. Sometimes it's things you volunteer for or have volunteered for. Sometimes it's a role you might have. Let's say you're part of a committee of some sort at school or a club,
Absolutely.
or maybe you're an OSL tutor or whatever. Okay, so the idea there, though, is that you've picked up skills. What are they? Why are they? How do they help? That's what you're saying.
And clubs are super important, because that's one of the best ways to get leadership experience. There's a lot of positions that a club has, from president and vice president and secretary and treasurer and membership chair. And those are all things that, speak to experiences with leadership and teamwork that look great on a resume.
Super. Okay, everybody that's listening, you got any other questions? I mean, I have this list that'll keep Tristine going for, at least an hour, but any other questions some of you might have?
I have a question.
Yes, it's Katie. Yeah, hi.
So I know LinkedIn and other social profiles are really important today to a lot of people, and whenever people apply to a job, a lot of employers will do social media searches. So do you coach people through building their LinkedIn profiles and maybe how to maintain a positive online presence?
Yes, I have a presentation that I have done a couple of times. It was specialized more for particular groups on campus that have a particular scholarship, but I've also used it in other ways. And it definitely targets all about social media and how to make sure that your profiles look really good, how to build a LinkedIn page. Because you're right, there are definitely some companies out there that really heavily use LinkedIn, especially since you can apply for jobs right through LinkedIn. And it doesn't go too much into like Instagram and things like that. So I probably need to update it. So I'm glad we're talking about this so I can do that, because I don't think I've been updated since all of those other apps have become really, really popular.
Okay, so
Do you, oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
David.
Yeah, no,
Do you
no.
do you find it common that companies are looking at social media more often? This is something I've always wondered, like on Instagram, for example, and even like Facebook, you can have your account private where other people can't see, just the people that you allow.
Mhm.
Do companies like make you accept them? Like how do they look into your profile if it's very private?
A lot of them won't go usually into that much effort. It's more about how you're presenting yourself to the public and what red flags there are there. So it's kind of a more casual search, and they really just want to take out the applicants that are just not presenting themselves professionally and have those public profiles so everyone can see what they're doing.
It's kind of interesting, you know, in what Victoria is asking is the fact that really what a social media type of a presentation, most folks probably just are thinking they're presenting their garden, their friendships, their that they love their dog, the things that are just kind of personal.
Yeah.
But many people, especially in the last number of years, social media has become also a platform for politics, for religion, for let's say philosophy, or concerns for the country, whatever, world, like world hunger, or all these types of things. And those are things that maybe employers will look at.
Yes. Yeah, they certainly will. And mostly, like I said, just kind of looking for those red flags, things that they don't align with, their company culture and the way that the company presents themselves.
So I might do really well at Starbucks, but I'm not necessarily going to do well at another place.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Michael is right about his comment. Anything with a security clearance, they'll go in more into detail.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to accept them so they can see.
So FBI
dive into all of your friends, family, acquaintances, anything they can find, and they dig very deep.
And I bring this up, Michael and Tristine, and you can tell me to be quiet, which you are both very able to do and have done many times. But the issues I sometimes wonder about now with the change, let's say, in immigration visas for education. Okay, it could go even to there, I'm thinking, if they were checking out social media sites, or am I a little silly on that?
No, you're not. Immigration rules are forever changing, and the U.S. government, even with our change of president, is looking for ways to deny entry and jobs without saying they're denying entry and jobs. So anything that you are posting, anything that you are seem to be doing, can and will be held against you without your knowledge in some circumstances.
When I got my U.S. citizenship last year, when I filled out the application, I had to put in all of my links for LinkedIn and Facebook, and
oh my goodness,
I don't have any of the other ones, but they ask for all of them there.
You will forever be Canadian to me. That's legitimate. But yeah. Do you have dual, for example?
That depends on if you ask the U.S. government or not.
Well,
they would say that I am just American, but Canada says I'll always be Canadian.
Oh, hey, that's cool.
The U.S. doesn't recognize dual citizenship from any country.
If I had one parent that was American and one that was Canadian, or my parents are Canadian but I was born in the United States, things like that could get me dual citizenship, but I don't qualify for those.
Okay. Well, Nova Scotia forever. Okay. All righty. Other questions from anybody else before I dip into my what is called typical list. Any other thoughts? Any of you can go. Sarah, you usually are full of questions. You're just sitting there, aren't you? Are you talking to your
I'm
cat?
soaking it all in. If I have a question, I'll speak up.
Okay.
How do we deal with students that are looking, and by we, I mean you, how do you help with students that are looking towards graduate school? I know we do
That's a
bunch of
big
things
issue.
for them, but I don't remember exactly everything that you do.
Yeah, so we help with the whole application process. I look at many statements of purpose. And then I also do mock interviews for their graduate admissions interview. And then, cheer with them when they get into their choices and, kind of commiserate with them on the odd case that they don't, and, help them research other programs that have what they're looking for.
Well, like I know there's a couple seniors in our peer mentor group, since this is a part of a peer mentor program, but they're looking at graduate schools right now. One of them, I think, is a part of our kind of a 5-year program for getting your bachelor's and then your master's here at New Mexico Tech. Another person, I think, is looking at farther afield in her attempts to get into graduate school. And I'm sure there's others that probably are here or will listen to the recording on this. I think graduate school is much like applying for a job. Because usually
more expensive,
right?
Yeah, just more expensive, since most jobs don't have an application fee.
Yeah, and also most jobs don't charge you tuition. Okay, so but yeah, you're the opportunity in its gainfulness is sometimes extended, but I'm sure that would be one of the times of depression and stress of people talking to you in that office. And I presume that Dean El-Azri has the same types of stuff that he deals with, and maybe with you, I don't know. So just a thought. So
one of the things that's been coming up here in the office here lately is we've been getting faculty members who are requesting that the students write their own recommendation letter. And then the faculty member will annotate it or add in extra things.
wow.
And it's been tough for us to figure out exactly the voice of each faculty member and to help them out. And it's certainly tough for students to figure that out. So we've been working quite a bit on doing that too.
Oh.
And then, how do you choose a graduate school? Not only, okay, I want to go, but where do I go? How do I find out? So all those things we work with, especially in conjunction with, faculty, certainly, but, with our contacts around the country and with alumni, Tristine can look, and I can look on our database of where our students have gone to graduate school in the past. Sure. And what they've gone for, and we can say, all right, so we have 6 students in your degree at University of Michigan. We have 4 students in your degree at Purdue. Would you like to speak to them? And then we can help facilitate.
Okay,
all
so
those
it's a good
things.
networking thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All of our students, when they graduate, we ask them for their non-tech email, and we ask them if it's okay if we contact you so you can help your fellow techies. And we have had next to 0, maybe even 0 say, no, you can't contact me. Almost everybody who's come through our office has said, absolutely, I'm glad to help.
Mm-hmm. Now I note in the side thing here, and I want Tristine to give us a real dose of career fair. It appears that when I was able to wander through and gather a little swag that usually was in the form of a pen, you start laughing and bring them to the library. One of the things is that then they had all their swag stuff in the library people would see, but I know there were grad schools. There were certainly technological types of placements. There was State Department, for example. There were things like that. So I know Victoria just asked everyone, is it too late to be applying for grad school? Do most applications close in early December or January? Let's say Victoria wants to go to grad school, which I'm just going to impose on. Okay. And Tristine, you know that Victoria is thinking about that, and you have certain grad schools that you know are going to be there. How would you intersect that to work for Victoria? And how does that work then when you go into the career fair? Can you kind of paint that picture?
Yeah. So most of the schools that are coming to the career fair, they have to go through handshake. And so
Right.
they have to, put what they're looking for. And usually it's not a whole school that comes, but a branch of a school. So like the College of Health Sciences or law school or something like that. So I can, narrow down which ones are going to be a really good fit for each student. Like Victoria, I'm going to kind of know what she's going for. And
Biology and psychology. I don't
Yeah.
know if that means she'd be in one of those or what, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And then she could schedule her one-on-one times, and we could work on a list of questions to ask them, including their times if they're, for their deadlines, if they're not on their website. Some schools have really hard deadlines that are November, December, January. Some are more on a rolling basis. And so they'll take them up until, they can't take anymore, or they'll just continue taking them as long as they can to keep their numbers up. So it really all depends on the school. And sometimes, the school might not have a deadline, but the particular department within the school does have a deadline, because not
Okay.
everybody works together. So there can be a lot of research that needs to be done. But talking to people is a really good way of doing it. And generally, if they come to the career fair, their deadline has not passed and they're still looking.
So that's very positive then. So let's say Victoria wants to talk to a grad school in a certain program, whatever ones that she's chosen. It would be perhaps good for her to come to you to get an awareness of who's going to be there. Check handshake, I'm imagining.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea. And maybe you could help her figure out how to interact with other schools and things like that. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right.
We know a ton of recruiters at some of the grad schools, especially the ones that come to see us all the time, or that Tristine has worked with elsewhere, or that we're working with through the graduate office, through their graduate fairs and things like that. So we can generally put a student in touch with somebody at that school, not just you sending in a blind application.
So it's not just a cold call.
Yeah, are hoping that you can track down a faculty member in the biomedical department who needs a student, right? We can put you in touch with a recruiter who can do all that legwork for you. And we'll put you in touch, we'll do the introductions and let you take it from there. It's, we don't just say, okay, we think this would be a good grad school, here's the application.
So it's not like a churning business of just cookie cutter types of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
We actually believe in customer service.
That's a nice thing.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you a personal question, Tristine, to get you yakking about this. Okay. What's your favorite tech tradition?
Let's see.
Oh my goodness.
There used to be one that was in conjunction with the golf tournament. And so people had the opportunity to go up top to the M on the mountain, and they had a wine and cheese tasting. I love it.
In other words, it wasn't carrying lime up to the
No, I don't want that one.
wine and
I'm not
cheese.
saying that one.
You're not doing that one. Okay. So it's wine. I know your love for good wine, but the wine and cheese, you love that little tradition.
There is no better view in Socorro than the top of the mountain.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're hoping that returns?
I do. I hope it returns.
Okay.
I know that it was not cheap getting all the people up there, but I really loved it.
Okay. Yeah. See, and I think that for all of us, as we're in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic right now, and tech has worked really hard at dealing with how to mitigate risk, and also with face-to-face, hybrid, and online classes. It is important to remember, and I was in another meeting today where this kind of was hinted at. What's it going to be like as COVID-19 finally subsides? And sometimes for us, we're thinking now is forever. I don't know how that works, but you kind of get used to that. But like you're talking about, maybe this would be a tradition that would come back. Okay, how would you envision career fair when COVID-19 finally is in more of a manageable state? With vaccinations and all that type of stuff. How do you think it's going to evolve from what you're doing now, which is online?
I think it'll be hybrid. Some people definitely really love recruiting in person, but I know that the graduate schools, especially that have less of a recruiting budget, love that you don't have to go anywhere and the price is cheaper. And so it kind of gives them a lot more opportunities for recruiting. So I think that we'll have to have both types. Maybe one day is going to be the online career fair, and then the next day will be the in-person, or some combination of that. I haven't figured out how to do both at the same time, because I don't think I can be everywhere all at the same time.
Yeah. Michael's doing something in there. I don't know. He's freaking out.
We don't have the staff to pull that off.
Yeah.
But I think that we can very decently do like a 2-day fair. And I guess ideally I would prefer the online one afterwards, so that I can make sure everything is set up without having to monitor online at the same time.
Well, like I know for when we're going to be doing SRS, which you guys get in on that conversation, of course, but last year we were jumped into a pure virtual event in 10 days, okay?
Yeah.
Because of the COVID-19 hit. And this year we're staying virtual, but that is a question. We're going to have virtual and face-to-face as COVID-19 and its pandemic impacts reduce. This year we'll stay virtual, but 2022, I'll bet you we'll have a combination.
Mm-hmm.
I think about, for example, in the Office for Student Learning, when it comes to the tutors, how are we going to mesh some of those great lessons we've learned and built up for online tutoring, as well as on-site tutoring? I mean, the library is there too. And that's part of the reason I was asking the question, because career fair, I imagine, will look a little different than it did pre-COVID. So, okay.
Hopefully bigger and better though.
Mm-hmm.
More companies hiring, that could only help us.
Uh-huh.
I think it's going to give us room to expand, because when we were just physical and everything was going well, we were maxed out.
Yeah, there was no room.
I was going to say, it was in the ballrooms up at Fidel, our major building here on campus. And yeah, it was tight in some of those places. Okay, it was easy to be bumping into people without trying, because they were bumping into you. I mean,
yeah, like we had to, make backpacks stay outside.
Yeah, because
there's no way you could turn around and hit someone with a backpack. You would be.
Yeah, if you're going to come in, you had to have a stack of let's say resumes or whatever, if you're going to be talking to people, or just it was pretty tight.
Yeah.
And I do think having more of an ability to combine will be great. And maybe that's something you've always wanted to try. Okay, to do something a little bit more creative.
Yes.
What are some other things you want to try as you maybe are in the situation we are in now, and as you look forward? What are some of the things you'd like to try out of your assistant director seat, as well as just student affairs in general?
I would love to be able to get into even more of the classrooms and talk to like the large groups of people. At this point, I get into a lot of freshman classes, which is great, but freshmen don't always think that they need me that early. And then their junior, senior year, when they're starting to panic a little bit more because they don't know what to do, or they haven't had anyone look over their resume the entire time they've been here, that's when, the most of the people that come and visit me. So I'd love the opportunity to get into the higher levels and the graduate student as well, and to talk to them, in a larger group and have that audience as well.
I'm sure
And
you and Sarah could have conversations
and
because of trying to
Yes.
get students to use the library.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to see the students, when they're further in their career and they have the background, they know
Mhm.
what they've done and what they're looking for, and they're not so overwhelmed, and they're able to maybe focus on grad school, or maybe,
Absolutely.
grad school or work. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause they're kind of a little more independent and they're a little harder to reach at that point.
Yes.
And right now, it's so easy not to attend something, right?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
If we can get to them in a classroom where they're obligated, is probably a strong word, but where they
Food
will
and
generally be, it would be a lot better for us. But we understand the issue with teaching time and, text, desire to burn through 3 chapters in 45 minutes of class time
Yeah.
when they're teaching, we understand that. But I think Tristine's right. If we can get into some of the engineering, even the 200 level classes, the 210s and the 205s, or whatever the 4-digit code is for them now, which I don't know.
Yeah.
That would do us a little bit of service instead of just, catching them when they're freshmen, because they're going to need more reinforcement than just the one time that we get them.
I know at the
As you
OSL,
all know.
yeah, at the OSL, we've talked about a 2-year type of a vision that it's certainly helpful for people at any time, for example, to use the tutoring services or to use peer mentors. Okay. But the idea of creating a good type of a program where we really are building during that time. And of course, people would talk about retention rates and things like that. Well, some of our services like you offer and that OSL offers, people will come back to if they really get used to it. So I think you're right that we should extend beyond just our freshman year, let's say, and get into those other years and into grad school.
Yeah, because I find it interesting because I talk to that freshman mechanical engineering class every year.
Mhm.
And some of
Curtis Springs Union,
the
yep.
best responses I get come from the TAs that have to sit in on the presentation. They're like,
Well-
"Oh, I didn't know you did that." Well,
Because they were listening deep, okay?
like, well, I did know that you took this class 2 years ago, so you did know that.
Well, I know that we've had a lot of good things to talk about here, and I know that want to have a wrap up, let us say, for this first tech spotlight, and then introduce what's coming next week. So, you got any wrap up line that we can have? You got a great closing song. What do you got here?
I think just advice, and I'm going to have this come from both my time at Tech and when I was graduating from NMSU.
Mhm.
And it is just, when you need help or don't know what you're doing, ask for help. I
It's okay.
never, ever, ever asked for help.
Oh my goodness.
So I'd rather suffer than ask. And I feel like I did that wrong and failing Calc 2 because I didn't go and get help in tutoring sessions.
Yeah.
And wrong as I was graduating with my bachelor's, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I decided to get a master's to postpone that decision. And wrong when I was graduating with my MBA and still not admitting to anyone that I didn't know what I wanted to do or how to go about finding a path. So talk to someone and ask.
Talk to people, ask them. Good. Yeah, that's a great way to conclude our time. And I want to invite everybody who is here for next week, when we're going to have Dr. Peter Fea, who is the acting president of Student Life and does so many things that I'm not sure how many hats he has in his stand. He's got Dean of Students, he's got Title IX coordinator. I'm not exactly sure if he's not also, the custodian of the building. I mean, this poor guy is doing everything. So, but it'll be a great time. It'll be at 4 o'clock. The Zoom link will be the same. And as I'm wondering here, if anybody's got a quick comment, that's fine. But I'd like to thank you for all being here, and welcome you back next week. And thank you, Tristine. I don't have any prizes for you or gifts. I'm really sorry. Someday we'll have to have everybody come over to my yard and we'll start popping real bottles of wine. How's that? Okay. So thanks everyone for being with us. We'll be back on again on February 3rd at 4 o'clock. Okay. Thanks for being with us.
Dean,
Bye.
this was great.